everybody, it is Calxiyn and Hunter here. If you guys enjoyed this video, you guys should subscribe, become patrons over on Patreon to support the channel, and follow us over on social media. And if you guys want to catch these live, they are usually whenever we are finished in our recording day, if you want to call it that. So for live showings of this video,
live showings
as if for a movie, for live times, around 5 o'clock is probably when we're done most of the recording, but that has only been the past 2 weeks because we've basically started at 1 o'clock. We have the computer back, we're okay for now. We're getting the new computer on the 23rd, and all of that stuff.
Live showings kind of assumes that there's a live studio audience, like there's a line of people just off screen.
You know what I meant though, like live showings like a movie theater.
Yes.
Like that was sort of my mental process. We also have the chat up, or we are going to have the chat up in a second, on my phone if it decides that it would like to show it this time. We were having some weird things were happening last time. That's all I would like to say about that.
So can we talk about this handwriting?
Yes, that would probably be a good way to start while I get everything set
up. So as you
up.
do that, I am going to, in all honesty, try to read this, because I'm actually not that bad with handwriting.
You can't.
But that's literally not English.
It's not.
So I'm gonna say, that looks like an L, a B, and then like maybe a V and an R.
Hunter,
an
it's not
A,
real. Like it's literally...
Aberviperop.
It's literally not
Ubil,
real.
Abkickcom, Stout, FS, FD, FO, F. But like a
Hello,
backwards
chat. We can see
F.
you now.
Rahildiondi.
You know what this sounds like? It sounds like somebody went on a website that tells you what everything in Simlish correlates to in actual English. That's what this sounds like to me. This is literally not real. Does that make sense?
But what if this is some kind of like secret code? And, like, if you read this, you, like, oh, this is just a brief synopsis of the last episode of RWBY that they've planned out.
This is actually,
but it's in, like, gibberish. Anyways, I'm not done. Rahilder Abiani, Fa Houndle? Pervin.
Yeah, you literally sound like a sim.
Pervin.
I'm serious.
It sounds more German to me. Abculi. Swanty, New, Eloi.
Tell me Hunter does not sound like he is in The Sims 3 right now.
That just looks like LW Louisv.com.
Also, guys, let us know about quality and sort of stuff like that. Just in, you know.
Woon. That's woon.
That's the only word that I was able to understand. It. That's not even a word.
What is woon?
Like, that's just nothing.
That's either a letter or a comma, but that's not the proper use of a comma.
Witchcraft.
Yemen, O, Wort. That's just an L. Okay, I'm not going to attempt that. Bittermel.
We're pretty set up now, Hunter. If whenever you feel like you're.
That's literally it.
That's literally it. Yeah. So it is basically because people were like, oh, that's just what's the text that like
Windings,
Lux Lorem, whatever. Like the thing where you No, not that. My mom's saying Gibson. I'm like, when a Word document auto-generates you text.
Oh.
There's a special, it's a lips.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you open a Google Doc in a format, no, it's not. It's just random gibberish, right? And so there's a special word for it.
Yes, it's called Ibsen Lorem.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna...
That's what I've been yelling.
I thought you said Gibson.
Ibsen Lorem, yes.
Ibsen Lorem.
Ibsen Lorem might have been one of the words I struggled to read earlier, actually.
Yeah, so I don't think it is that. I think it's literally Simlish. I think that's what they're doing to try and to throw us off. Simlish is the language that they speak in The Sims, for the people that are at home and they're wondering. And so, thank you, Mom.
The Schnee invocation cards were so much nicer back when Klein wrote them.
Yes.
We'll get to that
later.
We'll
get to that later. I would like to say I was right about that, by the way. I was like, Klein is either, like, grossly tortured or he has been fired. Like, there was just no in between. There's no war in Ba Sing Se. You know what I mean? We are safe behind the Schnee Manor walls. Like, that's how I pictured Watts. Klein in my head. So yeah, there was that. The banquet hall, all of that
Into a
stuff.
fluffy PR.
And yeah.
They have also, where did they get these chairs from? I guess the desk. So they're all sitting around. I don't know where.
You know what's interesting
Blake
is that
right
Oscar
now.
is part
Well,
of
I
this
guess,
conversation,
yeah,
which
she's
I
in
think
the
is so, I don't want to say random, I just think that that's interesting.
She
but
gets
yeah,
filled in.
so something I thought was interesting was that, you know, Oscar is the one who sort of, yeah, Jacques is happy to moderate, but that means he controls the conversation. Like, Oscar is pretty sharp in this conversation, and I really enjoy that from him. You know what I mean? He's learned a lot. Why is Blake sitting like that? How is that comfortable? Please explain. Somebody was just like, since Blake and Yang got together, she can't sit straight anymore.
I feel like first off, she is sitting like a gay person because gay people cannot sit correctly. It is a known stereotype.
Yeah.
I also feel like these
Oh,
are two
also,
different.
do you guys like her matching onesies? Nobody
Yes.
said anything about it yet in the chat. But yeah.
These are like the two different versions of manspreading: wide, hunched forward; wide, hunched back. So
Yeah.
I'm proud of them for that.
Oh my god. But yeah, I mean, can confirm, gays do not sit normally. That's basically, you know, Weiss here is doing some Nancy Drew type shit.
No,
right?
she's just trying to read her
No,
father's handwriting.
She's like, I can't believe he won. And then she's like, you know, she's suspicious. She's like, I know that he did something. She's been saying that for like the past couple episodes now. Like, she has
I know you're tired of me making real world connections from RWBY, but like, come on, people sitting around and being like, really? He won? He won against her? He won. Is there not a direct parallel
As Weiss says,
to
there's
various-
just too many coincidences.
to various other real life elections we've experienced recently,
Yeah.
relatively recently?
Yeah.
My God, it's almost like 3 years now.
I think that is what they're going for.
And I think they're doing
I don't think
a
that's a
very
bad thing.
good job of it.
At the same time, I feel like it's interesting because not that the rest of the world doesn't care about Trump, but the rest of the world is pretty unaffected by Trump. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like to some extent, the rest of the world sort of sits here and they're like, ha, America did that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's a little, right? But I doubt the Americans feel the same way about
No.
the episodes as we do. You know what I mean? It's
But
easy
also-
for us to laugh where we are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
And
also,
so I wonder
yeah.
how the American audience feels about it, especially, like, I don't know how many people are, like, watch Rooster Teeth and also support Trump. Like, I'm not sure of that sort of demographic, but I
But
wonder
then again,
if they're
sometimes
really, like,
they're-
pissy about where the
to be
direction
fair-
is going for the show
To be
right
fair,
now.
they're not being like overwrought about it. It's not like Jacques has like orange skin and fine golden hair.
Yeah, you know.
Right? It's subtle enough that it's there, but it's
Yeah.
not omnipresent.
But yeah, that's
Because-
basically what I'm saying. I'm like, it's interesting because we're Canadian and we don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just
There
think
is something
about
to be
that
said
sometimes.
about being a Canadian and then being like, ha, those Americans, and then being like, ha, those British, and then realizing we're surrounded.
Yeah, we're
Anyways.
next. Like, what are you gonna do?
Oh boy.
Right? But yeah. And so, it's interesting that Yang mentions, do you think your dad may have something to do with Salem? Because that's a pretty big sort of connection.
Yeah.
Right? I still like the theory that Salem's gonna disguise herself as a woman and, like, fuck Jacques or marry Jacques
I mean,
or
there
something.
was that one random, like, woman that was walking in the background later. So I have a theory, but that's for a later time.
Okay, thank you.
But, yeah, that's a good question. That would be like, so, your dad, do you think he's Hitler? It's
yeah,
a really
you know what
weird...
I mean? Like, I think that's interesting. And so, then they go Snoop. That's basically...
Also,
the
hey, the guy who was... I mean, it's subtle, but it's also like, hey, the guy who...
So you know what's interesting? So this is the Atlas News Network, and I
Yeah.
thought that was a nice
ADN?
detail that they're surrounding the house because they're doing press on the party.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was just nice.
Also, this isn't exactly how I expected it
I
to
think that
look
this
like.
is a representation. Like, Jacques is here,
Yeah.
and Willow's there, and Weiss is there. You know what I mean? Like, he sees himself as the strongest and the tallest, and then Willow, and then Winter and Weiss are below him. Because that one looks longer than this one, but it could just be the perspective that it's
Yeah.
at. But the perspective could be intentional, right?
What I'm getting is, especially if you go back a little, is
Mhm.
that I'm getting like it looks almost like a factory,
Yeah.
like with the smokestacks, and it's like that's the thing. It's not a home; it's a place to like do business. It's a place
Yeah.
to like
I
pump
think,
out
though,
airs.
that house on the hill from earlier episodes that we pointed out is definitely this house. Like, it looked the exact same with the sort of...
Also, this is not a house.
Rectangleness
This
of
is
it.
like
Does
a
that
very
make sense?
fancy, large mall. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's why I get the factory vibes from it.
I have an issue.
What is your issue, pal?
Why the fuck could they not have given them party outfits? Why?
I mean, it makes sense.
Everyone else, and I don't want to get too far ahead because there's still dialogue in this scene that I would like us to discuss, but if we sort of go forward a little bit, everyone else, okay, you can see behind Whitley, that's fine. Everyone else is dressed in formal attire.
Yeah.
The Aesops, I understand. Ironwood, that's fine. You're in uniform.
It's their uniform.
Okay, but you fuckers,
but
you're
also,
not in uniform, okay?
There's also,
change! Yang continues to look like a garage mechanic, and she is somehow let into this party. I am so miffed that they could not change the outfits, okay? And I understand, because Hunter was like, oh, well, it could have been time, it could have been budget, right? Like, you know, maybe it wasn't worth the sort of work that they would have to put in, and that's fine. But you have to sort of understand that, to me, that's not a valid argument. Because you have Volume 2, where there is at least 3 outfit changes, between characters, right? Cinder alone has, like, 3 different outfits that she switches between, and somebody had to make and model all of those. So tell me how hard it would be to just make them have some fancy clothes.
It could be the same, even the same dresses from the first time around, and
yeah,
have it be a
exactly.
callback.
That would have been so nice, and then you don't need to make a new design. You just take the old one and you model it for, and I'm not saying that that's easy, but I'm saying it's like, I'm so pissy about this.
It was at least an option.
I don't know.
But
I
then
feel
again,
like they did us dirty. You know what I mean?
It would be like, I don't know, it would be like Jean in the dress again.
I just feel like there's no excuse. Well, John was wearing something else before that, right?
Yeah,
I just feel like there's no excuse. And in my reaction, I was like, this just seems lazy, and maybe that was really harsh, but I will stick to that. It does seem lazy to me.
I think
to just not change their clothes. You know
I
what I mean?
will allow it for this reason.
I will not allow it.
I will allow it for the
Yang
reasons...
literally just wore overalls to a high-class dinner party. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So I guess this is why I'll allow it. I think it would be cool if they did that for a callback, but this is why I'll allow it. One, they don't really like Jacques, so it would be like, why the fuck would I dress up fancy for someone I hate?
Because you're supposed to be, like, incognito and, like, you know...
Secondly...
I'm just saying.
Secondly, you know, okay, so maybe Weiss... The thing is that earlier in the reaction, I was like, well, Weiss doesn't have to change. She already looks pretty fancy. But she was the only... Her, Clover... and Ironwood were the only one actually in the room, along with Winter. And they're all in uniform, and she already looks fancy. So the ones really engaging in it are the people already that kind of look fancy. The rest of them are just walking around being security. Which, to be fair, your security looks like they at least wear a blazer.
Yang is wearing fucking overalls, okay? This is not acceptable for Rooster Teeth. I do not approve.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. And I feel bad sometimes because I know that sometimes Rooster Teeth
it's probably not that
watch
simple
our videos, and so I hate to be mean. You know what I mean?
It's not that simple. It's just changing it. I can't imagine it's that simple.
It's a little awkward for me because I've heard like RT employees be like, yeah, Cal, like I look forward to your analysis every Saturday or whatever, and I'm just here like, I don't want somebody to have their personal feelings hurt because of something I say in the analysis. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, that's not my sort of intention, and I hope no one feels that way. I'm just saying, like, as a decision, no. And that's not an attack on a specific person. Does that make sense? That's just a big oof from me. I just hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
I'm pretty good with it. I think it works in the world. We know how you feel.
I feel like if somebody made a comment on it, then that would be acceptable. Like, if some rich woman sort of looked at Yang in her overalls and was like, what are you supposed to be? You know what I mean? Like, treated her like the help. Because she looks like she could be a technician or something like that. Like, I feel like that would have been acceptable. But they didn't do that. That would have been a really funny joke if somebody why isn't my scroll connecting to the Schnee Wi-Fi? You know what I mean? I would have liked that.
Or like the doorman, instead of it being, I mean, I guess it had to be Whitley. But if it's just like, oh, maintenance entrance out back.
Yeah, the staff doors are over there.
Like, fuck you, I'm a guest.
I thought that
Like,
funny. See,
I don't
that
know.
would make it acceptable to me.
I
But
feel
to
like,
just not mention it and nobody fucking notices
I
it,
feel
that
like you could have
bothers
switched
me.
that joke out for I
We'll
don't
talk
know.
about
For
that
like the
later.
later joke we see.
Because I have problems with that.
I'm
too.
more
Not
iffy.
problems, I have
Well, it also
concerns.
looks like Jean writes people's
You mean Jacques writes
sorry, Jacques writes people's
L
I'm gonna say that's a triangle.
A5 p.m.
But is that an R? Because there's a little nugget at the end of that P. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
maybe that's a D. D
Oh.
A5 p.m. You? What the fuck were you doing? What are you doing? Gravity cars.
I really like
Hover
the fancy
cars.
gravity cars.
Me
I think
too.
that's pretty cool.
Okay, my other thing is like, why the fuck? I saw Penny right
Yeah.
there in our reaction, and I was like, why the fuck are they bringing Penny?
Wouldn't
That's such
everyone-
a bad idea.
Everyone would just be like, "Oh my god!" It would be like if it would be like if you
God.
walked in the room and O.J. Simpson was there.
Yeah.
Presumably, you'd be like, "What the fuck is O.J. doing?" And I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I just thought that was also strange. I thought that this was so funny.
Yeah.
Winter is such a fucking savage.
You'll
I
have
just
to
love
pay
her
me.
so much. She's one of my favorite characters now.
And he laughs, which is great.
Honestly.
It's also like he does pay you. Also, go back, Ruby Raptor reference from volume. Yeah, because it's the Velociraptor and
Yeah.
like the Ruby Velociraptor that Monty drew. That was.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was a meme because he drew like Russian Ruby on the back of like a Velociraptor, and the Velociraptor was briefly visible in volume 1 during the Penny scene, and so I guess that's another call out to the Velociraptor.
That's so weird to me, because it's like, okay.
Wait, does that mean that
Are
dinosaurs exist in Ruby?
I was just gonna say that.
Are,
So,
wait, are there Velociraptor Grimm that we're
are
gonna see?
dinosaurs grim?
Grim.
No. Well, yes, but okay. We're. Oh my god.
No,
Are
'cause it's not fair.
dinosaurs existing as a fictional animal, like a mermaid, right? Like, you know what
Although
I mean?
in all
Like, do
fairness,
dinosaurs
mermaids exist in Ruby.
Do
so-
dinosaurs exist to the people of Remnant like a dragon exists, or
Which dragons
or,
also exist.
or I was gonna say a whale. Whales actually exist.
Those mysterious whale, really?
You guys understand
Whale,
what I'm
really?
saying though? Like I don't know.
I don't know, like a jackalope or something?
Yeah, or like a three-headed lion. You know what I mean? Like, are dinosaurs creatures of myth and fairy tale? That's my first question. My second question is, if they're not, what does that mean? When Salem was wandering the planet,
Did she find...
were there dinosaurs, and did they go extinct?
Did she survive? Because, like, asteroids did hit the ground.
Right. So were the dinosaurs wait, but that would be even more confusing. That would mean dinosaurs were roaming the planet when the first group of people were alive and killed by the gods.
So,
Right?
like, yeah.
So that doesn't make any
Did
sense. So the
dinosaurs
dinosaurs
exist
would
back
have to
then?
exist in correlation with Salem's existence after the gods had already left Remnant. So did the dinosaurs exist and then get wiped out?
Because
I
we
need
had
to
a
know.
theory that
Oh my
dust
God.
was created like from the bones and the ashes and the remains
Yeah.
from all the magical people that died during Salem's initial rebellion, which is kind of similar to how dinosaurs, you know, died in
And
ancient
fossil
plant
fuels,
life,
right?
and that becomes fossil fuels.
But that's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
I guess we might just be seeing Raptor Grimm.
Y'all,
I feel like there
I'm
would
gonna,
be Raptor
after we're
Grimms
done,
in Vacuum.
I'm gonna go tweet at Eddie Rivas and be like, I demand answers. I need
I
to
think
know.
I think
what
it's the
is
reference
going
to the
on.
Monty drawing.
I know it's a ref. What does that mean for the in-universe canon? What does that mean? You understand what I'm saying? What does that
poor
mean?
Eddie Rivas already has a busy enough job
I
without us
know, but I
asking
just-
dumbass questions
It's not
about
dumb, there's
dinosaurs.
a dinosaur. I need to know. I'll just tag him, Miles, and Carrie, and whoever wants to answer.
Did
they can
humans
answer.
evolve?
From
Does
dinosaurs? I don't
No,
think
well,
that's
no,
how
we
it
didn't. We didn't. But like, does evolution exist?
I can't
in
do
Ruby?
this. I can't do this.
Does that mean
Hunter.
there are like pro-magnon humans?
Oh my god.
Were they more magical? Were they less magical? Were the dinosaurs magical?
Anyway,
Do they treat dinosaurs like we treat Pokemon? Anyways, I don't know.
Anyways.
I like how the only thing you can see of Penny is her hair poof.
Yeah. I feel like they were
Oh,
trying to hide her for some reason, but I'm
Whitley's
like,
back.
we can see
Yeah,
it.
we know she's there.
I like how Whitley is just being the butler.
Yeah.
I guess. I thought that was funny.
Why do I feel like, I don't know, Jacques giving him, for lack of a better word, the bitch work?
Yeah. Yeah.
You won't find him here, which we were guessing, like, is Klein still around? And no, Klein got fired after he helped Weiss. And I'm like, where's Klein?
Did Klein get bossing Sade? No. But he has been fired.
He has been fired.
Which is what I also thought. I was like, he's either just not there anymore, or he's been
Which I guess they figured out. That's so nice of Klein that, like, he would sacrifice his employment for that. I hope Klein is not, like, homeless on the street and dies in the cold.
What if Klein is homeless now in Mantle, and he's one of the people that's gonna die because Watts turned off the heating? That makes me sad.
Because the thing is that presumably in high society it wouldn't look good if Jacques Schnee comes over to your house and he finds his fired butler. So it would probably be difficult to find
He'd never find work again, you know? Yikes.
Oh my god, he's so dead. Oh, it's
well, we're gonna see Klein die in
Speaking of Donald Trump, there's people in the background with a similar kind of orange hue to their skin.
Oh boy, I think that's just their natural color, Hunter.
No, actually not as bad. Never mind, they're lovely.
Do you mean these two ladies have a tan, or do you mean this guy back there?
Now that you're saying about it, the guy in the back looks more like red in the face. Although, is he the guy we see later? Although the guy we see later is more pale.
Anyway, I love how just Whitley and then it's everyone else. I just love that.
Trick or treat.
Oh, boy.
Like, oh great, our daughter invited her artistic friends over.
I love this shot, like just the chandelier and the staircase. Like before, it was all basically like 2D, right? At least how I remember it. And so now to see it sort of fully sort of out there. Isn't Klein a robot? No. Nah, that's Whitley. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Also, why does everything in this place look like it could kill you?
So
like that
here's my
chandelier
problem,
looks
okay?
So sharp.
Everyone is wearing fucking dresses.
Yes.
And where is Team Ruby? Not. That's all that I was trying to say.
I like other people's dresses.
I know. I think that this looks great. Look at these. Look at these.
Is that person wearing a monocle? God, this place is bougie. At this point, I noticed like the only fat character in all of RWBY.
So
and I'm like, oh, they're gonna make a
that.
joke about her later, aren't
Hunter,
they?
can you grab those waters and fill up my water bottle?
Oh my God, what I'm doing to.
I know.
Why do I feel like Whitley right now?
I know. That was
Wait,
my
the
whole
water
point.
in here? You mean I have to pour from a cup into this?
Yes.
I'm gonna spill water everywhere. You're such a jerk. Okay.
I'm doing that because I spilled water. What did I spill water on and that like ruined it? I spilled water all over the desk a couple months ago and it hit the printer, which was not a
drop out of sight, actually.
Which was not a great look. So yeah, we have extra water over there for us to drink while we're doing our streams and stuff. But anyway, you're fine, Hunter. You're good. Just put it back. It's okay. Anyway, I totally lost track of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about the chubby lady in the background.
Yeah. Everyone. Okay, so with the Simlish, this dress looks like it's been taken right out of The Sims, okay? I play a lot of Sims, you guys. I feel like somebody literally, like, copied the Sim designs and put them on these
In all fairness, there's a bit of copying. Like, this guy kind of has the same face and monocle and suit as this guy, and then this lady has basically the same outfit, hair, and body as this lady in the background. I mean, it's the type of thing you would never notice unless you pause the video. And most people don't go through it frame by frame.
But
like
yeah,
we do.
you can just tell that lady in particular seems different. Does that make sense? Like she's the anime protagonist of her own story out of all of these like random people. And thank you for the water. I think I already said that though. But yeah, I like how there's a shot from up here.
I love how it's just like, oh, the anime protagonist. You almost get the
idea that Willow is sort of looking down from upstairs and she's like, nah, bitch.
Yeah, you get like something creepy's happening.
No way, sis. Or somebody else looking from above too. But yeah, and so Whitley is, And so I like how, wish us luck. I mean, they already invited you, didn't they? And there's a little bit of a flirty thing going on,
right?
I
mean, there's a little something there.
Right? There's a little,
Crow and his hose.
And yeah, you can just tell this lady is just
Yeah.
different. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, here's the thing, that there's not, when you
Character-wise.
talk about RWBY, I guess there's some variety of body size. I think there is a significant amount, but you don't see people that, like, large, especially women,
Yeah.
in RWBY. So the second
we're
I
gonna
noticed
talk
her,
about that,
I was like, okay, she's unique.
but it's really too bad that they had a fat character and they made her the butt of a joke instead of just having one exist. Like, I'm sure that what they're doing is basically you have two model types.
Yeah.
And this is what it sounds like, right, to me. All of the men have model type A, and all the women have model type B,
yes.
right? Like, in terms of NPCs and background characters, all the women have head A, and all the men have head B. Does that make sense? And, like, for Robin, for example, when they made her model, they actually took a male head and stuck it on her and then played around with it. Does that make sense? And so, it's one of those things where it's like, that is how most of the characters are designed. Like, I'm assuming that there's some sort of template for a RWBY character, and there's a female template, and then there's a male template. And the reason why we don't get diversity in terms of body types is because it's
just
more work
logistics,
to make another, you know what I mean? And so it's fine to have, like, here are the men, and this is their template. Because, like, even look at, like, the men around...
Yeah.
Oh boy, we're going in the wrong direction. You know
Everyone's
what I
kind
mean?
of
Obviously,
around the same
everybody
height.
has a different face, but, like, look at her face and look at her face.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
All the men and women are roughly, like, the same build, around the same height.
Yeah, if that makes sense. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure that they do more if they could. Because, yeah, like, look at this girl and look at that girl. Like, they all have the same head.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, with changes made to them, like eyebrows and stuff, to make it seem like they don't have the same head. And that's fine. But... I don't know. It's just kind of shitty, man. Just a little unfortunate. You know what I mean?
Which, in all fairness, they don't shy away from being, like, I don't know, like, lilth petite women kicking. It's like, no, like, a lot of, like, Pura and, I mean, especially Elm.
Yeah.
You have a lot of, like, large, strong women. And
Yeah.
there's, like, a definite diversity
It's a
in,
problem
like, height.
with the background
characters.
characters, right? Because you have other shows, like, say, like, let's just use My Hero as an example, where because everyone has to be uniquely drawn, I feel like they're able to give the crowds a lot more realistic. Whereas when you're working with this, it's just sort of, oh, well, we have all the same model, so we're just going to copy and paste this model everywhere and change small things, instead of actually having to draw individual characters, right? Does that make sense? Because that's how I sort of see it as. Anyway, I thought the scene with Clover was cute. I thought that was nice. But yeah, the
Rabbit Boy comes in. Crow does not want to drink. I feel like they're like.
I feel like that was good.
Yeah, they're bringing back the whole idea of him
Staying
finally
away.
not being an alcoholic.
And so I feel like, Marrow's looking around and he's like, what is this
What?
fucking shit? You know what I mean? Because it's all Faunus waitstaff, I think
Yeah.
is the implication. So, Crow goes outside because he doesn't want to see alcohol, but Marrow goes outside because of the people that are serving it. And I kind of like that about them. And, like, these three, meanwhile, like, well,
they're so smart.
fuck y'all,
Elm
we're gonna
and
eat.
Vine just always look hungry, jeez. Always look happy. Like, they're just smiling.
Yeah.
I love them. Anyway.
And so, hors d'oeuvres, and then Elm's like, let's eat them out of house and home. And I thought that was sort of
that
funny.
was a cute line.
But yeah, you can't really tell if the others are Faunus, but I'm assuming they all are in some capacity. You just can't see on all of them. And I like how Yang's like, why don't we do wander off? Consider breaking things. I really like this. I thought that was funny.
I'll be in touch, so she has, like, that.
And then
earphone
Whitley
thing.
is like, let's catch up. And
Let's-
Weiss is just
let's
like,
stop you from snooping.
fucking yikes.
Is it that Whitley wants her to not walk through
I
the
think-
house, or is it that he's just being a jerk and like,
I
or
think
like
it's-
wants to monologue to his sister?
I think it's a couple things. I think that what Willow says later in the episode is kind of telling that he hates them because they left him alone. But I also feel like a part of him does just want to talk to his sister and catch up on his life. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he's doing it. I'm pretty sure he is doing it because he's a little shit and he knows that Weiss wants to go snoop around and he's trying to distract her or whatever. But I feel like, and part of him is boasting because she was supposed to be the heiress. Now he is the heir and all that. But I feel like deep down, a little minuscule part of him may want to... You know what I mean? Like, may want to actually
I
talk
interpret
to her.
the line from
And
later
update
from
her.
Willow differently in that it's not that, like, why wouldn't he? Like, we left him with, like, look, we left him with, whatever it was. It's not that he's angry that he had to
Sims
live
fans
with...
rise up.
It's not that he's angry that he had to live with Jacques. It's that he lived with Jacques and therefore it's his only influence. So all he knows how to be like, he's like, if you listen to it, he's bragging about like, and I have my own parking spot. Like he gets his self-worth from his involvement to the Schnee Dust Company.
I think that's true too.
Where Weiss now gets it from her friends and her work as a huntress.
Whatever this looks like
it looks
like they just reused the cake from the earlier episode and put a little leaf on it to make it look like it was something else. But yeah, it looks like Oscar has a little Oreo.
Oh, Oscar can have a little Oreo as a treat.
Give your Oscar a little salami.
I like that all these people are like hostile to Jacques, but like Oscar might just be less so just because of the lack of like interaction he has with him.
It's like,
he's like, yeah, I'll
how
have
did
your food.
Oscar eat when he was on the farm? Because it's not like, you know, you have a farm, but you're not well off, right?
I mean, he had dinner.
Yeah, I know. His aunt made him dinner or whatever, but it's like, are you eating the cows that you feed? Does that make sense? Like, are you just having cows and eggs and plants all the time?
Okay, when you eat
Does that make sense?
You don't call it cow. It's called beef.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Like,
he's a hearty young man.
I know. I'm just saying that, like, maybe he's glad to have a little Oreo.
I mean, think about it. He's like a poor farmer from like
Mistral. That's what I'm saying.
And
so,
now
like,
he's like living it up in the high life.
Food. That's all I'm saying, right? Like, basically, what I meant to say was he probably only ate whatever they produced on the farm. I think that would be a valid sort of idea, considering they're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, right? Yeah. And so my sort of idea with that would be like Oscar has never had like processed food or maybe like even dessert because you need like cocoa beans and stuff to make chocolate. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? You weren't necessarily making that on a farm. But yeah, so here we are. So I thought that this was an interesting picture. So this is Watts, Willow, and Whitley. Mm-hmm. And so I think that this probably was taken when he became the heir of the Schnee Dust Company.
And just
the tundra, you know, whatever. And so I thought that this picture was nice. This is like a giant picture of Nicholas Schnee in armor. Yeah. And so that's why there's armored, I guess, gigas, or whatever you want to call them, the armored statues. I guess they're not gigas if they're not...
That's
infused with
then,
the spirits, right? So the armor is all a replica of the armor that Nicholas Schnee... Because Nicholas Schnee, in one of the pictures, he looks like a fucking... He looks like the guy from The Witcher. He looks like Geralt. Yeah, Geralt? Or Geralt?
I think it's
Geralt. I don't know.
I can't remember. I only watched one episode of the TV show. I never played the video game.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was. I dug it.
I wanna play the game. But yeah, he looks like a hot vampire. Like, it's just all very strange. We'll have to... I didn't imagine him looking like that. But anyway.
What I will say is interesting then
I love how Robin's just... Like, she's just looking out the window.
I have nothing to say to these people. What I find interesting then, if that's his armor, that means that her grandfather fights with Weiss when she summons him. And her first summon was her grandfather.
Well, no, it was just armor made to look like her grandfather.
But it was his armor, so there's still that connection.
It was his armor, but it wasn't his armor.
It was a guy
he didn't wear
pretending to be in his armor. But you get the symbolism there, right?
But the giant thing is like 15 feet.
Yeah, I'm aware.
It clearly wasn't his armor unless he was a giant.
He wasn't 15 feet.
It was the metaphor, right?
But it was the metaphor.
I get it.
You really took the wind out of my sails there,
I get it. I get it.
Can we talk about how everything looks like it wants to kill you?
This is an airship, and then this is, I guess, just...
I don't know, something or other. Jackson Pollock. Like, look at those candle holders. Look at that, I don't know, that chandelier. Like, they just look pointy and mean and unfriendly. Like, no wonder Weiss didn't like the place. It looks miserable.
I like how Robin is so, like, savage. I just love her. I like how her and Penny look at each other, right?
I thought the Happy Huntresses would be in the background.
They're probably patrolling, same as Crow.
So.
Crow will probably find them when he goes outside. But yeah, I don't think we have to read through all this, but... Yeah, I really like this overhead shot because you have Weiss and these councilmen are on his side, while Robin is really for the people of Atlas in the middle. And then...
We have the military.
Because when you think about it, they're all for opening up the borders again.
Yeah.
Robin is, but not for Atlas. Not for the world, for everyone. And then Ironwood's like, no. So you sort of have this divide. And I like how Penny is sitting closer to Robin because she will eventually have the more human... sort of side to it. Does that make sense? Whereas a Winter and Clover both sort of agree with Ironwood equally, like these council people also probably
And
do.
I think there's some really good lines or good scenes in this show discussing like how they're talking about Penny and how people view Penny.
Yeah, are we safe with her here, by the way? Like, they're talking about it.
Which,
right
once
in front of
again,
her.
you know, it is the OJ
I feel like
thing.
they probably shouldn't have brought her, but you know.
Penny, that's the line. Penny is completely under my control.
Yeah,
She doesn't
so here's
feel
the
like
thing.
her own person.
A
She
public
feels like she's,
relation, because you know, Weiss mentioned fluffy PR, which I thought was
Yeah.
funny. Public relations lesson from Calxiyn, okay? I got an A- in my strategic public relations class this semester, so y'all better fucking listen, okay? Ironwood does not know how to speak words. Ironwood knows how to speak literally, but he doesn't know how to speak in a way.
Spin stuff.
No, it's not even spinning stuff. It's that he says the literal thing. Penny is completely under my control is not what he should have said, right? But he's saying that because that's a literal, factual, you know what I mean?
Or that's how he views it. He speaks his mind always. I think is something that could be said. And I think earlier in this volume he mentioned
I don't know how to explain, but he says something else where I was like, really, Ironwood? You really said it like that? You know what I'm saying? And so he just has this very blunt way of sort of speaking, I guess. And he
doesn't consider how other people view him.
Exactly.
And he mentioned that in a line
and
earlier.
so that's the problem, because now Jacques can twist what he just said, which is concerning, and that's a concern, right? And poor Penny's just like, they're all talking about me as if I'm not even here.
It doesn't look like all of the waitstaff are fun. It's just the one bunny boy.
Well, they could be, but we can't tell, right? And they could still be discriminated against anyway.
That's fair. They
but
could
yeah,
be
I'm
paid
surprised.
less. Good lord.
But yeah, so
Earlier about breaking things. I'm kind of disappointed with this
thought
scene.
it was funny in the moment, like what Nora was doing, but at the same time I was like, why aren't the waitstaff objecting? Do they just think that the huntresses have a giant appetite?
I feel like people like huntresses are just known to eat
Okay,
a lot.
so that is what Oscar is eating, right?
Yes.
It is just an Oreo with some leaves on top. What is that?
Try the gray stuff.
Two
it's
pieces
delicious.
of salami, some cheese in the
souffle,
middle. Like, what is
pie
this?
and pudding en flambe.
I need help.
It's the gray stuff, except it's maybe more teal.
I know, I'm just saying.
I also love how dainty and smiley. It's like they're trying to think of some more interesting way of doing it, but Nora just walks up, and I feel like the double screen is kind of unnecessary because
I thought it was a very interesting sequence.
Yeah.
And I like the Jean thumbs up, and I like how Ren is walking and smiling, but yeah. Not happy about this, sis. Probably wasn't the best thing for them to do. I don't know.
So they spill it on the fat lady, and
yeah, but we'll get into that, I guess. So here's my question: were they trying to dump the food on Whitley, or did they strategize the fact that she would walk over
I
here?
think they tried
You know
to
what
spill
I mean?
the food.
Because it just seems like a series of, unfortunate accidents that happened. But
That's
yeah,
a lot of soups in a
and
bread
I'm like,
bowl.
wouldn't anyone notice this? But yeah, I feel like, and Ren's smiling, and I'm like, really? If anything, Ren should be the most against this out of all of them. And
It's weird that he's not that coppish this episode. But then again, this is against the Schnees, and he's been shown to be like weirdly pro.
So yeah,
Does she scream, or is it like splashing?
Yeah, so she screamed, and then she dumped her wine on him, and like they all just look so happy. And look at Ren. Ren's like, good job, Nora. You know.
Oh, and does she fall down?
I don't think so. I think she just ran away.
You'll excuse
and
me.
then Whitley is just like, ugh.
I know she
I
screams.
wonder if this is...
It looks good,
I want
though.
to get to this in a second. I wonder if this is a hint. Call me crazy, but we had a theory that Watts had some sort of affair with Willow Schnee.
Oh
and I
my
know
God.
she says that a man came to see her, okay? And she should know that that's Watts, but maybe she doesn't want to reveal it. But listen, the wine could have been white, but instead it's red. Okay? The wine could have been any color. The wine could have been a sort of yellowy, like, twinge that white wine has. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that could have dumped on him. But they choose purple. Okay? This may sound crazy to you guys. Okay? But purple equals Watts.
I guess he is the most purplish
right?
of them all.
Who else is purple in the show? No one.
In
In terms of main cast, right?
Okay, think about it.
Other than, I mean, not even Ren. Ren has a little bit of pink, but not purple.
That's more like, I don't know, magenta.
Somebody's like, you're really reaching, and I'm like, no, okay? This is all a metaphor, okay? It's all a metaphor for Watts being the actual father of Whitley.
Can we talk about...
And that is why, because we talked about this before, Whitley is lanky and long, and so is Watts, right? And, you know, he has the Schnee hair and the Schnee eyes, because it would still be a Schnee, but it's Willow. And that's why he looks like Willow and sort of the Schnees, but not Jacques. Like, there's no Jacques DNA in this boy, okay? That is my argument. I rest my case.
What I will say is that, I don't know, he's a complete bastard and I hate him, and I briefly talked
That's
about
why he's been colored purple.
I talked about earlier how I moved him down the, like, most attractive RWBY male characters list. I don't know, the pink hair's nice. Like, if you wanted to dye it like that, I think that would be an improvement. You know, the white can be a little harsh, especially with your skin. I think it's an upgrade.
I'm just saying, okay? We made that theory. Remember that. Okay? And I think that theory has enough evidence without this. I just find it very fascinating.
Anyway, so they made the fat lady scream.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that, like, by itself. I just wanted to get the Watts thing out first before we...
Because when it comes to, like, fat characters, like, the only other one they had was Will Miss.
I don't like this. And, like, people may be like, oh, it's fine. You know, I don't see anything wrong with that. But I'm not going to say that it's not fine, but it's also not fine. Does that make sense? Like, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And even Little Miss was a bit of a stereotype, you know what I mean? Like, she
was like Southern lady.
She had this sort of accent, so it was sort of like big Southern lady type situation, right? Which is, again, fine, but it's sort of like, it seems like they made this lady...
Shrinking fat lady is a bit of a stereotype.
They made this lady just for this joke. And they made her fat. And I'm not saying they made her fat on purpose.
Well, I mean, they did. They had to. They weren't
like,
upsy-daisies.
I'm saying subconsciously, somebody could have been like, okay, we need a character where a character gets dumped food on them. And so they thought of a lady, and they just thought of a fat... Do you understand what I mean? I'm not like that they were being malicious and like, okay, we're gonna make a fat lady, and she's gonna get drenched by food. Ha ha. Right? I'm saying that in terms of creating the character, it just could have been a sort of subconscious thing by the artist. Because there are a lot of jokes like this other places.
Yes.
Does that make sense? And so that's sort of what I'm trying to...
Although, re-looking through it, it felt worse the first time than it actually was. Just because I feel like the music added a lot to it. Maybe in the stills it robs it of how, like, it was. I feel like an alternative to this would have been like, Crow, act drunk. And he's like, okay.
And then he
drunk
could have
as shit. And he spills wine on him.
Yeah.
And it could have, like, you could have had a character growing moment for Crow because he's like, God, I hate that person. I feel like that would have been more interesting.
Yeah, and I know they already made Crow leave, but at the same time, he could have left after that. Yeah. And I feel like the montage was just kind of unnecessary. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. Especially
because, like, the only person doing anything of importance was Nora. You didn't have to split it up like that.
Yeah, like, Ren and John were just sort of watching, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess it works because you also then get to see the shot of, like, the fat lady. I don't know, did she have, at the end, did she have a name? Was it, like...
I don't remember.
Was it Fat Lady? Was it Lady at Party?
Maybe. We can check in the credits, but... And it's just, like, it's not just that she's fat, but she also has really, like, heavy...
Makeup.
Not blended in very well, may I add, makeup.
It's a
stereotype. And all that stuff. It's a stereotype. And, like, just because it's a stereotype doesn't mean it's bad. Somebody's saying that she had to be that big to get in the way of Whitley, and I don't think that's true. Whitley is really tiny.
Yeah,
and Nora had so much food on that plate.
Realistically.
Like, anything could have spilled. You understand what I mean? I don't think that she had to be that big to get in the way.
Maybe they thought that, like, the joke of just spilling food on him wasn't as funny, so, like, what do we add something to it?
Yeah, you know, he gets drenched in some other way, because she would theoretically break the plan.
Honestly,
right?
This was I mean, it was a bit of a movie.
I don't want to analyze the joke, but I was just like,
really short. It was really short, and it didn't really matter.
But
I mean, it makes sense that Nora would try to fuck up the party.
You could also have a really tall man get in the way, and that would have blocked Whitley. Does that make sense? And so it's like, you didn't have to make a fat woman. You could have made a very tall man, and it would have had the same
I mean,
effect.
it's not
Do you
atrocious.
understand what I mean? I'm
It's
just
not
saying that
yeah.
I don't think the excuse of, well, they had to make her big. Like, you could have made other big characters, but you chose to go with the stereotype that is seen in other media. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's not atrocious, and that's not what we're arguing, but it is there.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not like, wow, Ruby's like, can't, but this probably has hurt some people's feelings. Does that make sense?
It's a possibility.
You know what I mean? I'm saying that, and I don't mean that in like a way that people are grossly offended, but I mean that people are probably disappointed.
Unduly? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, probably are, like, people watching are probably disappointed that this is what that character
Because it was
turned
kind
into.
of lazy.
That's what
I
I'm getting
suppose.
at. Yeah, and I feel like this entire episode has been kind of lazy. and
I
this
disagree
week.
with that. I think there's
I
some
mean,
really
the first
good
half,
parts of
I'm
it.
saying. The second half is fine, I think. But I think the first half of this episode, like, up to here, was just laziness. Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
just me.
I would disagree with this assertion, but moving forward, we now have a magenta boy.
Yeah, somebody's saying, like, how Rebel Wilson was the butt of the joke in Cats. That's
Yeah.
the type of stuff I don't like. I don't think that that's...
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't know.
There's layers to it. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, there could be more or less, like...
It's just weird because if
in
you
on
put
the
in
joke, I
fat
don't know.
with something else, it's sort of like, oh, well, that wouldn't be okay.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, imagine fat with another, I don't want to say minority group because it's not like that, but you understand what I mean? It's
Or
almost
even
like
if it's the difference of...
people perceive that because being overweight is something that you can change, it's okay to joke about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like, even sort of woke people where it's like, if you make a joke that's racist, obviously people wouldn't, you know, like that, right? But if you make a fat joke, it's like, oh, well, they're fat. They could change that if they want to. You can't change somebody's skin color. And I think that that's sort of where things sort of divide for a lot of people. It's like, oh, well, you can't joke about that because that's not a choice, but being fat is a choice. That's what people think is what I'm trying to get at. And I think that that's sort of where the lines sort of go in terms of, like, people thinking
I don't
that
know.
certain
I
things
think
are
you're
okay.
also right about, like, the heavy, like, unblended makeup and, like, the fact that she was a fat woman. Like, that adds layers to, like, the stereotype of the gag of, like, the shrieking fat
Yeah,
lady.
people are saying that the episode was definitely weak. I feel like it was just the first part.
Maybe.
that
I don't
was
know.
really
Honestly,
weak,
I was
yeah.
so into the Weiss-Winter interaction that... I don't know. I was
Tall
I'm very
woman, tall
strong.
man, small excited child, Nora tripping, Elm getting excited about the mountain of food. Yeah, so there are a
Yeah.
lot of other options. Because where the fuck did Elm and Vine go? They were like, yeah, let's eat! And then they disappeared. I'm like, yeah,
Where did
so
the food come
I
from?
agree with the chat in that particular
It would have been
comment.
easier.
There
You wouldn't
were
have
a
had
lot
to...
of different people that could have just gotten in the way. I don't know why small children would be here exactly, but, like, I understand the idea. It could have been literally anything. I mean, but, yeah, let's...
Also,
Yeah.
I like how, the Ruby's laughing in this scene was a little obnoxious and kind of, I don't know, weird.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like she just hates Whitley a little bit.
I think she hates Whitley,
On
and I think
behalf
she also
of Weiss,
hates
if that makes sense.
every other person in this room. It makes sense that, you know, Blake...
I like how Blake she doesn't laugh, but she likes to see that Yang is enjoying the scene.
To be fair, like,
Oscar has no like, he's just like,
I'm here for
I
the
want
ride.
more food.
At the end of, I don't know, I feel like if you're hanging out with Jacques Schnee, you're probably a terrible person, in some degree.
But yeah, so there's this man.
He looks like if you Google image searched politician, like stock photo of a politician, you would find a photo of that man.
Why Winter is tapping her finger the
Yes.
entire time, which I thought was a really good, like, beat for the scene.
It built like the... I
It's
don't know.
obvious that no kingdom intends to declare war on Alice. That's true.
Yes.
I have to say. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
And then it immediately goes to Penny looking sad,
yeah,
as if
about
to be
the
like,
drones, right?
I'm a war machine. She does not look happy. Oh, that seems like a weird tick to tap the table, but
I don't know.
it works.
I feel like it's interesting to see where everyone's hands are, just in the scene.
Yeah, I mean,
guess. You know
Jacques
what I mean?
always looks very, like,
Jacques always
menacing.
does that. Pennies are in her lap. You know, I don't know. I think that that's... Ironwoods are... You know, I just think that that's interesting. Everyone's body language and stuff like that. What's everyone eating, by the way? I think it's a
it looks like just
steak
steak.
and just some vegetables.
I don't know.
I
Also,
Coleman
I love how-
looks like he has something different, or did he cut up his steak? They put more effort into
Also-
modeling different versions of the
Also-
steak than they did in making
Listen,
new
listen,
outfits.
I also
Clover has a cut steak, Ironwood has a slightly cut steak, Winter
Listen.
has a full steak, and y'all
Listen.
didn't spend time making different
Listen.
outfits, but you really
I
put the
like
effort.
that. I like to go back. I like that Penny
Penny
has
has
plate,
no food
but
because
no
she
food.
can't eat.
That's like a nice background detail.
Oh my my god.
It would be funnier if they, I don't know, it'd be funny if they give them, if they were eating steaks and they were given like visibly less good food. I don't know.
Yeah.
They look like they're eating okra or something. That seems odd.
Anyways.
Also, it's interesting that Jacques is good at like manipulating people, even though Jacques and Robin are like in a lot of ways diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
He's able to convince people that there's, I don't know, another villain that you should be paying. He's able to deflect
because he's
the
able to
blame.
be like, you're right, Robin. Ironwood, right? You know what I'm saying? And so that's sort of how. And so Robin's knows now about it. And so I feel like she is sort of on Ironwood's side to some extent because she knows the truth.
Or she is not as easily tricked.
Yeah.
As other
you know,
people
and
are.
so I feel like that's why she's caught in the middle. Because on one hand, you know, Ironwood is withholding information. That's why they don't know. Now she knows, and she knows what Ironwood is trying to do and that it's good, but she can't tell them because
What I also find interesting is that the business people, Atlas people, are all drinking wine, and Ironwood's people are all just drinking water. Like they still want to be like, I don't know, all there. They don't want to. If they have to get in a fight, they can't be buzzed. I find that interesting.
So Winter fucking sister snap.
Yes.
Over here. Well, you know what's also interesting about this side of the table? Okay, Winter's mom is an alcoholic.
Yes.
Ironwood hates how Crow drinks.
Yes.
Winter also hates how Crow drinks. And then Clover encourages Crow not to drink later and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So is it like Alcoholics Anonymous college binge drinking?
Yes, basically.
Okay.
And so, wow, Winter fucking went there and, like, Robin's looking at her
Robin's
like,
looking at her like, hey, like, do you want to want to join in my band of merry lesbians?
Yeah, basically, I feel like that's what's going. Because, you know, everyone knows she's a Schnee.
Yeah.
Everyone knows she grew up with Jacques, and so they know that this is loaded.
That's a bit of a family altercation. Also, he's smiling like he wants to get under her skin.
Yeah.
He feels like he's winning.
And so now he twisted her words against her, which he seems to be very good at, which is a bit.
He's such a manipulative terror, which is why I think I'm very pro this scene.
Yeah.
I feel like this scene is just really strong, their conversation.
I was just checking the chat.
Also, can we talk about how sad Penny looked? Like, Penny really does care about Winter. Like, Winter's like her big sister.
Winter knocks that
poor lady. But like a professional doesn't spill the 3 more glasses of wine. She's gonna
So
give
let's just look at this, man.
Okay.
The
Winter-
fountain, I'm not sure why that's there particularly, but you have Whitley playing the piano.
That looks like a dust mine even down
A factory.
in there.
This is probably Jacques and
I don't know.
that's probably Nicholas
Another
and
businessman?
No, probably Nicholas and Jacques when he
Maybe.
first inheritted the company. That would be a nice picture. Or possibly Jacques and Whitley if it's recent.
That looks like Atlas down
but yeah,
there.
just some Atlas stuff.
Head of a beowulf.
But yeah, you see Weiss's mom when she gets married. I'm so glad she has the bun, because that's personally how, I think that it was because we saw an image of her before in Volume 4, right? But that's always how I sort of pictured
There's also
her.
the idea of the Schnee women's hair and like symmetry, and so in there, when they first started, it's very symmetrical.
And now it's
behind
not.
her,
Like,
and
it's
now
her.
it's not.
I want to talk about that later, like her own form of rebellion.
I also find this
right?
interesting that like the photo of their wedding presumably is them like staring at each other between a vast chasm.
No, it could have been like they were standing sort
yeah,
of.
but the
they
way
were
I
standing
mean, yes,
like
obviously,
this,
yeah.
And they cut the.
But
they
the way
cropped it.
but the way it's cropped and move away implies that there's a great distance between the two.
Yeah,
of them.
exactly.
Like
and
now, obviously not at the time.
And so you sort of have
Atlas.
I'm
libraries,
guessing Atlas
maybe?
Library or Academy or
More
something.
Schnee. Maybe that's the headquarters.
Wow, look at Daddy Nicholas right here. I'm so serious. Look at him. He looks like a fucking vampire slayer. He looks like a monster hunter. He looks
pretty badass.
You know what I mean? I don't know if he has a white beard there, but like,
He
fuck.
looks like I don't know. He's just like you're right. He has like big like.
Why do I want to fuck Weiss's grandfather? Explain that to me. But
He
he's
looks
sexy.
like Dracula.
Like, yeah.
Please stop talking about the man's in 2 dimensions. You wonder if we're ever gonna get like a flashback to him?
Maybe.
That might be interesting.
And then obviously this is them together,
Yes.
right? Because she was supposed to be the heiress,
1.
probably. And so what room is this, by the way, that has all these pictures? She looks in and she walks by.
I don't know. It's just a hallway.
I guess.
This
Maybe
looks
another hallway.
a very strange building.
But yeah. Wow.
Interesting, fun little details. It's
Nicholas.
interesting that like they have the heads of Grimm, like you're
And
hanging
obviously
it,
he dyed his hair,
or
right?
just-
To
or not dyed. Maybe it's just aging because you
I
don't
don't think
dye your
so.
hair like that. Did he have frosted white tips?
Yeah, I think
Did
maybe.
the 90s also happen in Remnant?
I'm just
I
saying.
find it cool that I have an idea about hair, but go back for a second. I find it cool that like they have the heads of Grimm mounted on the wall. Like
Yeah.
they're hunters, but they're not hunters.
But they
like,
can't 'cause
he
they
wants to
disappear.
project strength that he doesn't actually hold.
Yeah.
I find that
Nicholas
interesting.
Schnee was a Targaryen.
He does. That's what he looks like. He looks like Aemon Targaryen or something. So this scene makes no sense. I mean,
Why is this person
it makes
walking
okay? It
over
makes
here?
some sense that that wasn't the same woman as before. So she's walking in this strange place with empty wine glasses. I mean, they talked about previously that like you could walk around and no one would notice you. And I guess it makes sense that they're around, but like they show her and then they don't show her. So here's my idea.
I agree with you.
That's
by the way.
Neo or that's Cinder.
I think so.
And that I think that when they introduce Neo or Cinder, there's gonna be like a "we were here the whole time," and it shows them like
Weiss is only 5'3".
yes,
And Neo is 4'1".
but she
But it's
can,
an illusion.
yeah,
Right? You had this big mantle ship that she
Mhm.
made look smaller in a sense. A smaller, big big Mistral ship, small Atlas ship, right? So I don't think height matters when she does the sort of disguises.
I have a theory. Maybe we can talk about in a separate video that like there's gonna be a twister-rooney where something different
twister-rooney.
happens than what
Because,
Watt's
I don't
plan
know.
was.
Look at her. Like, I just feel like
She's
her
just
eyes are green.
untrustworthy.
Okay? Her
Kinda
eyes
like
are green like Neo, right? Like, I don't know.
Neo in like her disguise thing. Although she talks, imagine if the first person to talk as Neo.
But I feel
is-
like she could also mimic the voice. Maybe that's
Maybe.
just me.
She
But
can
yeah.
only talk as
And
other
there's
people.
family portrait.
That's the one we saw in Volume 4.
I like, though, Winter still has a bun. Right?
Yeah.
And so she is still conforming, but she conforms to someone else now. Is the idea.
Yes, I
Like,
think that
Weiss's
could be an
ponytail
argument.
was on the side because that was a small rebellion towards her father. And, like,
Mhm.
let's get to Weiss's mom so I can discuss this further. And so this was like, what? Yeah, so that was, that happened. And then, like, it's forced back in the middle when she goes back to Jacques, right? But I think it's interesting that Winter's hair is in a bun and the mom's hair was in the bun. The mom's hair was in the bun because she was sort of conforming to Jacques. Winter's hair was in the bun because she is now conforming to Ironwood. Weiss's hair has always sort of switched around to show how she is not conforming to Jacques, but now Willow has a side pony, which means it's a sort of more subtle rebellion
Mhm.
compared to Weiss's hair. That's what I think it's supposed to represent, because here's the thing, and we can debate this, right? Some people seem to have mommy issues, judging by how they're talking about Willow, but it seems like that people are like, well, Willow's a shit mom, okay, even if she was abused, she let her children suffer abuse too, and she didn't do anything about it, and I don't think that that's true.
I mean,
that's people's perception.
Maybe it could be partially true, but it's not the whole truth.
And I feel like it's more complicated than people are sort of letting it be. Does that make sense? I don't like blaming Willow. Because some people act like Willow has as much blame in it as Jacques does.
Or has
and that's
as
not
much,
true.
Yeah, or has
right?
power over her husband.
Yeah. Because I think that the problem is that a lot of people are like, well, Willow drinks, she's neglectful, you know what I mean? Like, even if she was abused, she's still like, she did this to her children, and I don't think that that's right, because
I think she's a victim as well.
we don't know. She's a victim, right? And I don't think that she's perpetuating her abuse onto her children. It doesn't necessarily seem that way. Like, yes, she's an alcoholic, but that doesn't make her abusive. And I don't know where people got the idea that she's neglectful, because it doesn't seem like, just because she's drinking in the garden in that one scene doesn't mean she neglects her children. It seems like, I don't know.
I mean neglect. I don't think neglect is to an extent. Maybe I clearly she's in a lot of ways very broken. That she doesn't feel like she can help her family, or
maybe she was taking the glasses from Willow. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Oh, that would make sense. You know what? That would
But
make sense.
Willow's not drinking wine. She's drinking vodka.
She looks like she moved on to wine.
Maybe she moved on.
That
from
she's like,
wine
I know
to
Jacques
vodka.
keeps the good shit hidden in his office.
Maybe.
Maybe she's so pissed like that Calxiyn got fired because that's who bought all her wine for her.
Oh God. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a bad argument. You know what I mean? Like, you can say Raven's a bad mom because she straight up abandoned her children, and that is fine, and I understand that.
I think Raven is
But-
a worse. I mean, neither of them are good moms.
But Willow is a victim of abuse, and we've never seen her full story. And so I feel like it's a pretty preemptive to sort of judge her and say that she's all these terrible things and that she's abusive and stuff like that. That's what I mean. I feel like people are sort of projecting their own issues with their parents onto RWBY sometimes, and I don't like that. You know what I mean? Like the people that sort of,
here's the thing: our lived experience.
like people are like,
how
Tai
we view
Yang
media.
is a shitty parent and stuff like that. And
I mean,
like,
he could have been better.
and he could have been better, but it's like, I feel like people are too quick to assume that it's
Maybe.
you're either a bad parent or a good parent. You're not a human
Maybe.
that has issues
That's
sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, people are so concerned about the black and white of it. You know what I mean? When really, like, there's a lot of different aspects that sort of go into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like...
I mean, she was likely abused by Jacques as well, presumably.
Yeah.
My thing with that is that, like, on one hand, like, you can't blame people for, like, taking their own
And
biases.
she does seem protective, as somebody else is saying. Like,
Yeah.
later, she also is like, she's glad Weiss left.
Yeah.
And is seeming to do her own thing in her own way, where she's installed all these cameras and stuff like that. So it's not like she's not
still
doing
rebelling.
anything. It's not like she's like, fuck Whitley. Wah. Like, you know what I mean? She's not
Wah.
like that. That's not nice.
She had a backup plan that if shit got... Maybe she was trying to create a backup plan to
Yeah.
get dirt on her husband so she could escape with her children safely.
Exactly. It seems like that she, she was doing something.
But then again, like, I don't know. Jacques could probably afford the best lawyers in all of...
I don't know.
in all of Atlas.
guess.
He could run a smear campaign on Willow on his
But
news
how do
network.
you fake? Unless it's like, oh, that was doctored footage. My
mean,
wife doctored the footage. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
With that, it's just I can understand why she feels trapped and how she's trying to do her best in a bad situation, and she probably does fuck up a lot.
I don't know. It's
And
just
she's a
again,
great
I feel like
character.
people are way too black and white with
Yeah.
it. Like the Tai Yang thing, for example, is that Yang sort of had to raise RWBY and stuff like that, and people are like, well, Tai Yang was abusive, that's neglect, and all that sort of stuff. And we don't know everything, but at the same time, it's like, even if Tai Yang was in perfectly good spirits, Yang would probably still need to help with RWBY anyway, because it's like, she's like a woman and her older sister. Does that make sense? Like, she's a girl, and so there's also like that aspect to it too, of like, there's only some stuff that your mom can teach you to some extent, or
This is
Tai did not have the period talk with RWBY. That's what I'm trying to say.
This is how you get revenge on your cheating shit husband, Winter. I'm Weiss. Shut up. So what you do is, I imagine that
Yeah,
there's
you know
certain
what I
things
mean.
you get from your mom.
I'm just saying in terms of like the Yang sort of like having to take care of your sister thing. I think that would have happened even if Tai Yang was like, I'm not gonna mourn summer, let's go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just sort of my thought. Obviously, you still have to take care of your children even if you're having your own problems, but people can't seem to be a little bit sympathetic to Tai Yang being totally broken after the love of his life fucking dies in battle.
A real like
you know what
1-2.
I'm saying?
First mother of your child leaves you, second one dies tragically. And I think the most they said was that he was busy working. So he was trying to like provide for his family, which, it's hard
and
to
he
do.
sort of shut down. That's what
Yeah.
Yang says. But that's the thing. He didn't abuse them in terms of like what Jacques does. And I feel like people are sort of missing that.
And they
you
still
know
have
what
a,
I mean?
they have a better relate. I think that Tai Yang and RWBY and
Yang have a good
relationship with one another.
So
certainly more than Winter and Weiss have with Willow.
Yeah, so I'm basically saying leave Tai Yang alone. 2019, leave Tai Yang alone.
And
Because
also,
it's just
Willow
not
could be
as
worse.
easy. And I feel like Willow, it's sort of the same thing, is that she is doing what she can to protect them, and she has done certain things to protect them. But it's like she's just she's trapped. It's like a mental abuse thing. Like, what do you expect her to do? I don't want to say she's been brainwashed, but that's what it can feel like.
She's mostly abused.
You know
I
what
don't
I mean?
doubt that he's threatened her in the past.
She's
'cause, I mean,
mentally caged. It's like how, I read this somewhere, but like elephants when they're young, if you put a chain around them or something like that, if you have the chain when they grow older, they think that they can't break the chain because it's always been there. Does that make sense? Like if
Yeah.
you're trying to keep like a circus
even though they
elephant,
have the force to
even
break
though
the
they
chain.
have the force, they don't. That to me is what Willow is, and I feel like that's why people shouldn't be like, she's just as bad as Jacques. No, I don't think that's true. We'll see. No.
That's an
I don't think
interesting
that's
metaphor
true.
about the chain.
Yeah,
and
I
the
think
elephants.
that's true.
Oh.
I think that that's how Willow is. You know what I mean?
I think she was emotionally abused, and we get like hints of that in Volume 5.
But yeah.
And so smash cut to the other W child.
Yeah, and so Penny is like, "Are you okay?" And then you wouldn't understand. And
she's
Penny's like,
I'm not human.
Right. And
But
I was
also,
just like,
Winter
"Oh."
immediately like realized what she did. Like Winter, more so than Ironwood, is concerned for Penny's feelings.
And I kind of like that. I like
That's
she's
her,
like,
like,
"No,
big
I
sister."
didn't mean it like that." You know what I mean?
Winter just is a very good big sister.
Yeah,
Like,
I
she's
agree.
good
And
to
I think that
she's
that's
good to Weiss. She's good to Penny.
You know, and so I just, you know. And so she thought that she was in control, and that's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Jacques makes you think that you're in control, and then he traps you.
Yeah.
Again, it's like the, you know,
He takes away the peg for the elephant.
the elephant stuff, right? And so, and like, it sounded like you were speaking from your heart, and I like how Penny said that, but then she was saying that that's, you know, the problem, and I'm just like, oh boy. And so I like how she doesn't understand, but she doesn't understand not because she can't feel things, but she doesn't understand why you would go against doing what you feel if you feel it. Does that make sense? Like, she doesn't understand why, because I feel like with Penny, it's right to speak your mind, and it's right to speak your truth. It's right to speak from your heart.
She doesn't understand,
She doesn't understand
social
why
etiquette.
why Winter would be like, I shouldn't have done that. I stepped out of line. Right? Like, I feel like that she is more like, well, of course you'd speak from your heart. That's the thing.
Penny's
you know what I
all
mean?
id.
Penny is a lot of Kingdom Hearts type friendship. My friends are my power. You go with your heart, sis. Like, that's sort of how Penny is as a character, and I feel like she's gotten a lot of that from RWBY in particular. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about that specifically. I think the chat is still talking about, yeah, I know what you mean. It's a psychological trick called where victims learn backwards ass ways of thinking and behavior in order to survive. Yeah, that's sort of basically what I'm getting at. And so hopefully Jacques is gonna get what he deserves soon, and I do agree with that, because if Weiss goes in with the camera and is like, who the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Like, that would be, because Ironwood would recognize him right away. Ironwood would be like, that's Watts! That'd be bad.
That son of a bitch. I don't know. I really enjoy seeing the idea of I don't know, Winter Winter just deserves. I just want to give her a hug.
And so yeah, I kind of really like the scene between Winter and Penny. I feel like that was really
as
good.
brief as it was, and then it's cut right back to. Part of me wonders if it would.
I like how she says for your party. Because it is for them. It's really to talk with Ironwood and them, right?
I'm afraid I'm not feeling well.
And so you can see the picture of Weiss has been turned around and stuff. And so, yeah.
You think you would have had a bigger,
she's like, it's okay, Mom. It's fine.
More grand office, like at the top of a tower or something.
I also like how, I guess she is wearing a dress, actually. I thought she was wearing pants before. But anyway.
I like her design.
I like how she has sort of a very
I love her
formal frock, I guess. You know what I mean? Like this part, like the top
almost?
part, the vest and the
ascot.
The ascot, like I really just like that. I wish that this was more of a jewel, like shiny. Does that make sense? I wish it was embrosed. What do you call it? Like when the embezzled?
Embezzled, sure.
Like beveled.
No,
you know,
embezzled
like when
is a crime.
No, you know when you bevel text in Photoshop?
Yes.
I wish it looked like that with edges instead of just being a flat circle. But I do really enjoy her design. She has the dead anime haircut.
The dead anime mom. Which, to be fair, I think
that only lends to my theory.
Because like dead anime mom hair, like right now she has like this, where like the ponytail is almost at the base and it's going down here. Dead anime mom is more like when it's down here and it rests on your thing.
It's slightly dead anime.
She's approaching dead anime mom, but I don't think she's quite dead anime mom.
Someone says that Willow looks curvy, and I'm just like, I guess, but that's because she's wearing a belt. You know what I mean? She has like this sort of.
I guess she does kind of. I mean, maybe Jacques likes them thick.
Okay, enough.
I like that. Like when we're talking about the hair and the asymmetrical nature of the hair, like her bangs are kind of asymmetrical.
Yeah, and so I feel like how her hair's at the side. That's all like a metaphor.
And it's almost kind of unruly, not unruly, but like.
But yeah, I really like her sort of outfit and like all that stuff. And so I thought we all assumed that at this point. And so I like how Weiss says, yes, well, some of us are trying to do something about it, right? It's sort of implying that her mom, you see how her mom sort of grips the cup,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And then I feel like this is almost, again, another one of those fandom things.
Mhm.
You know how there was a Bumblebee scene? And that was pointedly like, oh, these are the Bumblebee fans versus, like, the people that don't think Bumblebee's gonna happen. Like,
Yes.
oh, just friends, right? Like, we talked about how that's a
Mhm.
meta commentary. I feel like that this is sort of the same in that sense, that this is the same sort of meta commentary of, oh, like, Weiss isn't the only one who has rebelled.
Mhm.
Winter rebelled in her own way, and Willow, you know,
In a way that she could.
is also
and
rebelling.
like letting her children go out like that.
And you know what
become
I mean?
huntresses.
She has her own form of rebellion, is basically
Yes.
what I'm getting at here, is that she
She's
put
like,
cameras
"You put cameras in here?"
everywhere.
And I love the
Everywhere.
voice acting here on Willow's part becomes almost a little manic, because now she's convinced. What I think it is that she's convinced that like Weiss is completely out of the I guess I don't know,
Yeah.
the tentacles of Jacques.
Yeah.
And I think Winter is as well, but Winter doesn't come around. So this is her this is Willow's like cry for help of being like, this son of a bitch is crazy, I need to catch him.
I'm glad that she looks older
and it sounded manic.
compared to just Raven, who looks like Yang with wrinkles. Like, she
Which, to be
actually
fair,
looks older to me.
I think
Does
like
that make
the,
sense?
the
Maybe it's the
slightly
hair.
disheveled hair like
Yeah.
gives an impression of someone who
I don't know. I just think that they did a really good job with her compared to some of the moms in the past,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
I
in
forget
terms of
who
properly
yeah.
showing age.
I forget who voiced
Um,
her, but whoever voiced Willow did an excellent job, because all of like the sadness and the the manic
Yeah.
bits and the hope in her voice is just excellent.
And she cries
oh,
too when
it's
she
so-
knows that, you know,
Yeah.
Weiss isn't gonna stay, because she's happy. She's glad that Weiss isn't gonna
And
stay.
Weiss doesn't even really know how to be emotional around
So
her
here's
mother,
the thing. She says a man came by,
that she doesn't
and
know.
then she walks away. I'm afraid your father may be in something more dangerous than he realizes. And I feel like the man, like, that may kill the Wattses, but would she really tell Weiss a man came by? It was, you know, your brother's illegitimate father, your illegitimate brother. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he
would-
liked him thick too.
You know, would she really be like, if she did know Watts, would she really be like, yeah, that's the man I was actually in love with before your father married me, right? Like, would she be like that? No.
Who knows?
Right? The answer is no.
Like, you don't
So
want
I'm
to drop
just
that.
saying
She's
that
already emotionally vulnerable. You
if
don't
she
wanna...
knows Watts, she isn't gonna just be like, yeah, that's the guy that I fucked. You know what I mean? Because our theory is that Watts and Jacques were related. Watts was genuinely in love with Willow, whereas Jacques was clearly not. And that the reason why Watts had to sort of run away and fake his death was because Jacques manipulated the media and got him disgraced. And it seems like Jacques does have that power, and that's more and more likely as the time goes on. So that's what I would be arguing, is that even if she says a man, that doesn't mean she doesn't know Watts. It just means she doesn't want to say that she knows Watts. No matter what happens, Weiss, please don't forget about your brother. And I thought that was interesting, because I feel like she knows she's gonna die, in a sense. Does that make sense?
Also, what does the vodka bottle say? Because
Swans.
Okay.
So I'm gonna look up the swan thing in a minute, because that's actually important, but it's like, Whitley wants nothing to do with me, and she says, of course not, you left him with us. And so that's an interesting...
So I talked about that earlier. I interpret this not as like angry because you left me with abusive assholes, but angry because you were the only influences with me. Like, I think she recognizes her failings as a mother, that she wasn't able to instill maybe her own values in
I guess so. Is that
in Whitley, and that like Whitley mostly takes off of his father because his father kind of got his tentacles around him.
Yeah, and so I don't think it's like, you know, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
I think
Because I do agree with what you're saying. I think it's also like, you know, Winter and Weiss, in a sense, have their own little secret club, if that makes sense. Where they train with their semblances together, and they play piano or whatever together. Like, they do all this sort of stuff together, right? And Whitley has sort of been the one that has always been left out. And so I
Come
feel
to
like
think
in
of
that
it.
case, right? Think about it. Like, Winter and Weiss are out, practicing their semblance, and Whitley is all alone. Who is he going to try to hang out with? His father, which is probably the cause of all of this when you really think about it, right? You understand what I mean? Is like, oh, well, my sisters won't let me play with them. I guess I'll just, because I don't want to say that's how you get, like,
I don't know if
children that cling to their parents, but do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we all had that kid in class who was extremely attached to their mother because the other kids wouldn't play with them. Does that make sense? Like, you understand? Like, even in siblings, there's always sort of, like, the youngest one is the favorite, or, like, the, like the spoiled sort of young child who hangs around their parents while the other siblings sort of hang around each other. Like, I feel like that could also be it too, where it's like, yeah, instead of, including him and all that stuff, you left him with us and now look at what he's turned into, right? Because I don't see it as, oh, well, we're terrible parents and we hurt him. I see it more as, what she says here, ooh boy, I guess I'm going in the wrong direction. What she says here is, Whitley wants nothing to do with me. Of course not. You left him alone with us. And so why did he learn that Weiss and Winter were bad? He learned that from Jacques, which is more what you were saying, Hunter. So it's less of, oh, well, yeah, we're terrible to him, right? Because he, theoretically, yes, Jacques is emotionally manipulating Whitley, but he probably has had it best out of all three of them. You know what I mean?
Probably.
We don't really know, but he's the favorite, and he's been favored because he stays in line.
Yes.
So I doubt that he's sort of gone in,
he's like a little Jacques.
Beaten, like
Jacques,
Weiss has, is basically what I'm saying, because Weiss rebelled. Right? And so it's one of those things where, if anything, I imagine that Whitley would be treated better in terms of physically, like, overall. Obviously, he's still being emotionally manipulated, but we can sort of talk about that later. But yeah, what I mean is more, he's probably been favored in terms of all of that stuff, and so he's probably not been mistreated in that way. He has his own parking spot, he has the company, he gets what he wants, right? And that is sort of what could make him sort of spoiled, but I think that's what Willow is saying. Weiss is like, he wants nothing to do with me. He wants nothing to do with you because he's been taught that you both are the enemy, that you both are bad. That is what I sort of think is the point of what Willow is saying.
I also like that because it's not Willow really blaming Weiss. She's blaming herself. She's to an extent also saying that, like, you could have helped, but also acknowledging that he's very difficult. I think it's a well-written line in that it almost kind of doesn't place the blame on any, I don't know, Jacques and the situation, and not just on Winter, or just on White, or just on Whitley. I will also say is that potentially if shit goes really bad in Atlas, and Atlas falls, like we imagine, I imagine Whitley might have to spend time with Weiss, and that might be the time for them to, like...
Someone in the chat said the Schnee siblings are this: flight, fight, and fawn, and that represents Winter, Weiss, and Whitley. And I think that that's true. Yeah. Because flight is sort of Winter, and Winter continuously avoids her father when she can. Whereas Weiss is fight, which is obvious, and then fawn, which I never thought was an option.
I don't think
it's an option in terms of nature, because you can't, but in terms of humans, I think that makes sense. And again, I'm not saying that Whitley hasn't been abused. He's been emotionally manipulated.
Into being a shitty human being.
Right. But I'm saying in terms of, like, publicly, and in terms of, like... favoritism, that is where he was probably treated better. Like, even Weiss perceives that, right? Like, isn't there a scene where Weiss is like, oh, like, well, you've always been the... Like, she says something to that effect in Volume 4. I don't really remember.
What I think also it is that when Weiss and Winter heard, like, Jacques chew them out, they think, like, something's wrong with Jacques. Whereas with Whitley, he would think something's wrong with me. Yeah. He internalizes that, and he strives to be better, more like his father.
And so that's basically all I'm trying to say. Just because you get things doesn't mean your parents are treating you well. That's what Winter says earlier. But that's sort of what I'm trying to get at, is I think that, like, Whitley's basically bought off. You know what I mean? Like, he was basically bought all these things and taught, like, oh, if you get, like, these things, you'll be happy, sort of thing. And so that's what I mean by, like... You know what I mean? Whereas Weiss has had stuff taken from her, like the heiress title and, things like that. But yeah.
I will say that I really, like, I don't know, you were, like, iffy on this episode. This, like, the Winter Penny scene, the scene around the table.
Yeah, I think the first half of the episode was bad, and then this half is good.
Blew me away.
That's what I think.
I love just the little we've even seen of Willow.
But yeah, I sort of agree with the chat that it's not necessarily Weiss's responsibility to save Whitley, because she was also abused as well. Like, I mean, in terms of when they were children. Does that make sense? But now, Winter and Weiss are in the position where
to
they
potentially try to help him.
But yeah, I do feel like the Willow blaming reminds me of how people blamed Blake for Adam abusing her. Yeah. Does that make sense? And how Blake treated other people? You know what I mean? It's like, it's sort of the same. I don't know what a good example would be, but people are basically like that Adam abused Blake and that Blake is abusing Yang. Sort of like some people have said that before. And I feel like the Willow thing is the exact same sort of situation. And like, no, Blake did not abuse Yang. So let's get that clarified first. But yeah, I think it's sort of one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I feel like that people just, again, they want to paint it into a black and white thing where it's a lot more complicated. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Blake necessarily did anything wrong to anyone. You know what I mean? It's not like she had kids in, like, this situation.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
My God.
But I'm saying that in terms of, like, I feel like it's just the same argument in the same story over and over again, where instead of recognizing what perpetuated the abuse, which is Adam and Jacques, you put the blame onto the woman in the relationship, which seems to be happening in both cases, and I don't think that that's right. I mean, that's just a societal thing, too. You know what I mean? I don't think that we haven't seen enough yet for me to be like, oh, Willow's a bad mother. You know what I mean?
But I also think it makes sense that Weiss
and maybe we'll see more later. I'm gonna need to see more of that before I decide that, because right now she seems just as much of a victim as anyone else, and she seems like that she is trying to gear up to get her and Whitley out of there just in case. So it doesn't seem like she's not doing anything. And we don't know her interactions with Whitley either. Like, maybe she did teach him how to play piano, and they do have a good relationship between them, you know?
What I will say is that, like, it makes sense for Winter and Weiss to have a certain degree of resentment towards their mother, just because even if she was
I think
the
that's
greatest
fine.
mom, and like in abusive situations, you tend to try to direct your feelings towards your abuser to other people in the situation being abused. That's a common thing, to my understanding, to happen in those situations.
And it doesn't seem like Weiss resents her, though. The scene.
I mean, not in this scene, but in earlier scenes, maybe drinking in the garden.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff.
I don't know.
That was probably not.
But I really love this scene. I love Willow as a character.
I think the only one to blame is Jacques, as of right now. I'm not going to blame Willow yet. I feel like people are getting a little
If Jacques
carried
was
away.
less of an asshole, Willow would be less of a wreck.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so, I feel like it's like, oh, well, they're both at fault. I don't think that that's true.
This is why you sign a prenup and you have a good lawyer.
And that's the other thing, right? What the fuck is Willow supposed to do, theoretically? You know what I mean? Like, people are saying that she didn't do enough to get them out of that situation, but at the same time, it's like, she has no money. None of her finances are in her control. And it's like, if at this point, if Jacques isn't physically abusing Whitley and all of that stuff, I won't say anything about her because we don't really know. It's sort of like, it's safer to be here than out on the street somewhere, possibly, maybe, I don't know.
Where it's literally freezing over. I would also say that presumably all of the shady tricks we've seen Jacques use to manipulate other people, he used to manipulate his wife over the course of 20 years.
It's not, I don't know. I just don't think it's right. I mean, we're going in circles at this point. I don't think it's right for people to blame Willow. That's just me. I think all of the blame is with Jacques because he's obviously manipulated here. Like her for a number of years now, and it's sort of like, again, it's sort of like a brainwash. If nobody is able to unbrainwash her or snap her out of the trance, if that makes sense, like, why is it her fault? You know what I mean?
It's upsetting them that people can't recognize that watching the show.
Yeah, and I don't.
That's their issue, but
I don't like it. I don't like what people say about her most of the time, and so
But you mentioned being out on the street. Being out on the street is
at the moment would probably not be a great idea.
And that is because of the scene that becomes directly after this.
Yes.
Where we have, we cut to, I guess, we get scary face, pensive look.
Who are you? And then
and then there he is. He has his bag, presumably, I don't know. God, so he's so emo.
Watts, the heatgrid.exe.
Like
is that basically heating system.exe?
Oh my
Alice
God.
Security
.exe.
Heatingsystem.exe. Heatingsystem.exe.
This is admittedly pretty funny. One thing I will say about this is that, like...
And he just turns it all off!
Which we thought
Except,
it was just like...
does he just turn half of it?
I think... Okay.
Maybe to draw people into going on the other side of the city?
That looks like mantle. Like mantle's on the ground and then...
No, but this is one whole circle. I'm
guess
sure that
so.
all of it's going off. I don't know.
Unless we just don't see all of it disappear in the screenshot we took. What I thought was interesting is I thought it was the heating in people's house. No, like the whole world is under a dome of warm.
Yeah, because now it starts snowing and there's usually no snow because of the heat.
Yeah.
That does bring the question of why people are carrying umbrellas, but I guess it is raining still.
Yes.
Because the rain turns to snow because it's freezing.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's the whole idea, is that, like, it's still raining because rain is not necessarily determined by temperature. Does that make sense?
Not
but then the rain turns to snow because
Yes.
it's now freezing over. It wasn't cold enough for there to be snow before.
I used to think that there would be giant glass domes surrounding Atlas, and that's how they kept warm. But I guess there is. It's just not glass. It's like a more, I don't know, subjective kind of dome of warmth that they keep around the city.
Hold on. I'm going the wrong way. I wanted to go back to Watts first.
Look at this dumb kid. He's so happy. It's snowing. Why did he drop the umbrella, though? I guess he
I
doesn't
don't know.
need it anymore.
Maybe he's like, I don't need it. It's not raining. It's snowing, right? I just want to go back into this scene a little bit. Yeah, somebody is saying in the chat, where Watts is staring, you can see a silhouette of one of the Aesops. So I just wanted to look back.
Where?
Unless it's the bat signal over here. I can't see it.
Do you want to be more specific, person in the
Yeah,
chat?
do you want to tell us, like, what building
If you
they're
go
by?
back to the scene where he's has the frame in the background.
That's obviously the Atlas thing, like, you know, the Atlas military thing in the background, but I'm like, I don't see any Aesop over here.
He's very Batman-y right now, where it's like he's standing perched in the corner
where
on
he's
the rooftop.
staring. So he's staring in this direction.
That
do people think that's an Aesop?
That just looks
that
like
little cell phone tower right there.
That looks like just a little.
That just looks like that looks like an antenna, guys. I don't think it's an Aesop.
So.
You know what I mean?
Oh no! I think
where the two buildings split.
They might mean over here.
Oh, right there.
I guess it's.
They think that's a person. That looks like Vine.
Maybe. I mean, it's a person wearing white, and it's from such distance that it could be
I don't think that's a person.
Anyone. That could even be a like a smokestack or something.
Yeah.
Because if you look at that, and then if you look at that over there, it's similar. They're both.
But
white.
now that he pointed it out, it does kind of look like a person, doesn't it?
No. Because if you look at that there, and then you look at that there, it's
I need
the same
a magnifier.
thing. It's just in light.
I need a magnifying glass.
So it's
Hold
the white.
on.
No, it's just a pillar.
Can we
Yeah, it's just a pillar. It's exact.
Can we zoom in anymore? Maybe it's Tyrion?
No, it's just a
pillar. No, I think it's just a pillar, guys.
Yeah, it's a pillar.
But it does look like a face. I understand why someone may.
Yeah, from a second. Computer, enhance.
Uh-oh. I think we magnified too far.
Sometimes you magnify too far.
It disappears in one of the other shots. Okay, so let's look for that then. I trust this person. Let's look, okay? Oh, I guess it just. I think it disappears because that's the bag. But let's keep going. Okay, I think I'm going the wrong way again. Hold on. Okay, yeah, it pans up, and then
cuts back.
Oh, it cuts back.
But that's from like a different angle now.
Yeah, see now it is gone. So was it a person?
I don't know, because I just feel like it's a different angle, and it looks exactly like the smokestack from earlier. I just think it's obscured.
Yeah.
I don't
know. That's interesting.
Well,
how did Vine get all the way over here? Yeah.
Because now it's just more there, so now I feel like it could just get...
Let's magnify it again.
Because
maybe it should have been behind this thing, right? I mean, you can kind of still see the white.
You can see the first one, but the second one's obscured now.
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know about that one, Chief. Anyway, maybe, but if it's Vine, I'm gonna be pissed because I talked about this before. The only two Aesops who have been developed enough to be the traitor this season are Marrow and our Clover. And so Clover already has an alibi. He's in the room. Marrow, on the other hand, went outside, but that white figure looks like he also has white skin, which means it would be Vine. Right?
Or it could be a pillar.
Or it could. I'm just saying, if it's theoretically a person, Hunter.
Okay, theoretically,
you understand
then
what
it would
I'm
be
saying?
Vine, yes.
Is that like,
if
we go back, Like, that's not marrow.
Yeah, but
You know what I'm
also,
saying?
I don't
So,
know. That
I
looks
don't know.
pretty stocky to be Vine. If it were a
guess.
person.
Maybe it's Tyrion? Because, like...
If it was Tyrion, they would have just shown Tyrion.
Maybe.
Because we know Tyrion's there.
But yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Know if I necessarily agree with
But yeah,
that.
if it's Vine or Elm or Hair, I will be very upset because I
Anyways.
feel like there's not enough build up for
The
that.
world is freezing over. That means those orphans we saw earlier are probably gonna die in the cold. I like how the little boy has never really seen snow before, so he's so excited and he's totally.
Well, yeah, he's never seen it snowing. I'm sure he's seen snow.
Or snow, but not
snowing.
It's the innocence of children. Also, you see the drunk guy and his friend.
Yeah.
Which I like it that they keep showing the same kind of background.
And so this
characters
kid
again
seems
and again.
excited, but look at his house, sis. Y'all are gonna fucking freeze. Because that's the thing, right? Houses. If the city is heated, I'm not saying that everyone's gonna freeze, because people still have fireplaces and
But
stuff
do
like that.
they?
But here's the thing, okay? If you have a house like this, you wouldn't need heating. Does that make sense? Because it would already be warm enough where you don't necessarily need, you would have heating, but you wouldn't necessarily need heating, in the walls. And this is the poorer part of Atlas. So here's my sort of thought, right? People are sort of oh, well, people are still inside. People have fires. People can still stay warm. You know what I mean? If you're in Antarctica and you build a fire outside, how much is that gonna help you exactly,
Because
right?
they're just
Because
not prepared.
Atlas is cold. It'll kill you in a matter of hours, right? And so, again, right? You guys can look this up if you want. If you went to Antarctica and you were dressed like a Canadian winter or a New York winter, let's just say that you're
Southern Ontario
you're not
winter.
dressed for Antarctica, but because that's what these people are dressed like. These people are dressed like Canadian and even less. I would be.
Yeah,
look at this
that's
lady.
fall.
This
Yeah.
lady's in fall clothes, right? Right. And so my thing is here's the thing. If you're dressed in a Canadian winter stuff, you are put in Antarctica and you are given a fire, how much is that gonna help you, right? Even if these houses have fireplaces, even if they have fire dust, which I'm a little iffy on the dust thing because Schnee Dust Company stuff has been closing and opening, and so
it'd be
that's sort of
difficult for them to
confusing.
get it.
And that could be why. What if that's why he closed down the dust
Oh.
facilities in Mantle? Because Weiss was
So
like,
people
why
would
would my
freeze to
father
death?
do that? That seems like a wrong way. But that means they wouldn't have any dust, distributing out of those facilities. That would make sense.
If that means that people are freezing to death, that means negative emotions, which means more grim attack, and they're less prepared to run away and hide.
Yeah, and there's also everybody that would help in a grim attack is up here.
Yes.
Robin
The
and the Happy
Aesop's,
Huntresses are up
Penny.
here. The Aesops are up here. Penny is up here. Everyone else is down here. So
Ruby,
yeah, I don't think the dust argument is a good one just because dust is probably expensive. And the second thing is, again, if you are in Antarctica, how much is some fire dust really going to help you, right? And everyone has aura, but
not everyone has unlocked
not
it.
everyone has unlocked
And
their
if
aura,
you
which is
unlock
the
it,
problem.
that means that more Grim will notice you, which means that you're more likely
That's
to
the whole
attack.
thing. You only have your aura unlocked, theoretically, I guess. Not everybody does. You only really have it unlocked if you're fighting, I guess. If you're in a fighting situation because somebody at a school will unlock it sort of for you.
There's
But if
activated
everyone-
and then there's unlocking it.
Exactly. And so if everyone had their aura unlocked, Carrie said this, there would be Grim attacks every day because the Grim can sense you if you have your aura unlocked or whatever. But yeah, so that's sort of the thing is not everyone has their aura as a protective shield around their body. Aura is everyone's soul. Everybody has a soul. But not everyone has a protective shield, so people are gonna freeze to death. So yeah, I don't think the dust argument is very good, and I don't think it's, they still have fire. That
Also-
little candle's gonna help you in Antarctica. You
Also,
know what I mean?
Here's the thing, it gets cold in Canada sometimes.
But
and,
it doesn't
one
get
year-
Antarctica
Yes,
cold.
but
you know?
a couple years ago, we had an ice storm. The power was knocked out for a couple days for some people. We did not have power, which meant no, heating, which meant a lot of people had to, move to relatives' house who had heating. People aren't prepared, even when it's not, Antarctica
And
tundra
people
level.
froze to death during the snowstorm.
I don't think people froze. I think
there
people,
were
I don't know if people died.
accidents because of the snowstorm. Does that
Oh,
make
yeah.
not accidents? People died because of the snowstorm. in whatever capacity. It's either that they died because they didn't have the heating, they died because a tree fell on their car. You know what I'm saying?
Because
like,
of all the Grimm
all
that
this
attacked
stuff.
Canada?
Yeah.
As one tends to have happen?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Like, I feel like, you know, people are just unprepared. That's the other thing. And these people are already poor and don't have the resources. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that
what
they're
I feel
really
is interesting
cold.
here is that, could you go back for a second just to see who plays Willow Schnee?
Oh.
Is, Caitlin Glass. We have to look her up later. Caitlin Glass.
So, let's see. Okay, so Jacques.
Oh, yeah, what's the lady's
I
name?
think she's female dinner guest, which is fine, I guess. I'm glad they didn't call her
Chunky Screamer?
Yeah, in the credits, right? But yeah, still.
I don't know. What does feel like, I feel like there's so many crises. Like, there was Penny murdering people, and then there was, you know, the dust shortage. First it was the shortages of, you know, products to mantle. Then there was the Penny murders, which I guess we're now calling it. Then there was, I mean, this. So it feels like they're
like,
just
look at this scene,
compiling.
because it's hack, right?
Yeah.
It's wah, 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 wah.
I just feel like it's compiling now, and I'm like, will this be the big one, or will the next one be the big one?
Yeah, because
When
this
will shit
episode, in
finally
terms of
pop off?
in terms of reacting, like, I think our reaction was still good, don't get me wrong, but this episode had a lot more to do with analyzing the text and discussion and stuff like that, in my opinion, right?
It was a good episode, but not like a really punchy
It wasn't like,
episode.
wow, people are getting murdered, you know,
Yeah.
reaction like last time
It
where
was a
nobody
quieter
kissed, right?
episode.
It was a quieter episode, but there's a lot to discuss and a lot to analyze and stuff like that. But I think that we are actually done. I don't know how long we have been. Is there anything else that you guys want us to talk about? Speak now or forever hold your peace, basically.
In the meantime, I would say that, like I think
I'm also going to take this moment very quickly just to plug that if you become a membership member, you will have access to these emotes. I have put the emotes in the chat. They are very cute emotes, all right? They are very, very cute. I'm losing my voice. I don't know if you guys can tell. But yeah, I think that we've talked about everything and we are probably done. But yeah, feel free to be YouTube membership members if you guys want the emotes and the loyalty badges and all that stuff. You guys may like that. I think to use them in places like Discord, you actually do have to sub on Twitch, because I don't think that YouTube has the same integration with Discord as Twitch has. So yeah, if you guys want the emotes and
the
all
last
stuff.
questions people seem to be asking are Crow and Clover, which I guess we haven't talked about a lot, but like, yeah, they're like flirting now. Like, it's not even
I
like
think
him
so.
giving
Like,
advice.
a
Like,
little bit.
that's totally gonna be a thing.
Like,
I'm down for
you
that.
know, they already have you, right? Like, it's nice banter, but there's also some sexual tension with that banter. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I haven't been too inspired to do a shipping video. But I feel like we may as well just wait for Clover and Crow to do one, because then we can sort of see, like, oh, this is how their relationship progressed during the volume.
Or maybe
like
right
that would
before
be
we
good.
think it's gonna be a thing. Because I feel like if we did one now, we could talk about it if it works and if he's a spy. That branching path.
Yeah.
I think that's an option.
Maybe. I mean, here's the thing. Christmas hiatus. I may change my mind and be like, Hunter, we have no videos. We gotta think of some videos. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed. We will be doing other discussion videos to sort of predict and stuff like that throughout the week. And we will see you guys later. Bye.